you, and thank you all for being here this evening. I am very delighted to be presenting tonight's Corporate Social Responsibility Award, and I'm delighted to be presenting it to Chemical Financial Corp, and we're delighted to have with us tonight the company's chairman, Gary Targo, and CEO, Dave Provost. On behalf of Chemical, they're going to be receiving tonight's award, and there are multiple reasons why we could be giving Chemical this award. A lot of it could have to do with the business acumen of their leadership team. For example, their stock beat the average regional bank stock in America by 50% since they went public. And that'll certainly be part of the career of this management team, but the reality is it's a small fraction. Because we did a global search. As you know, this award has been given out globally to find the right company and the right management team to receive this award. And in our due diligence, we found that this was the right management team at the right time to receive this award. So specifically, this award is given to companies around the world and management teams that have made a significant impact on their host community. And David and Gary's contribution to Detroit has been extraordinary. Rather than read their bio, which you all have in your program, I decided I would talk a little bit about their timeline. I think, as many of you know, in 2013, Detroit filed for the largest municipal bankruptcy in America. As Gary told me tonight, just last night, the mayor of Detroit presented the first balanced budget in Detroit in 70 years. What we have had happen in front of us is maybe one of the greatest urban turnarounds of our lifetime, and these are two Detroit guys. Now, I say that about Dave, even though his parents are missionaries and he was born in Korea and didn't move back to the United States until he was 10 years old, but he does consider Detroit his hometown, and that's where his children were born. Gary grew up in downtown Detroit, and these are two gentlemen who absolutely did not forget where they came from. So let me real specifically just quickly tell you their timeline. You're going to learn a lot about them. In 2010, they founded a bank that was going to start and serve the local community. As I mentioned, in 2013, Detroit filed for bankruptcy. Did they head out of town? No. They got more involved. And I'd like to tell that story. In 2014, I heard a great story about how Gary and the mayor of Detroit drove through Marygrove, Detroit, which is the hometown neighborhood where Gary was born. The mayor and Gary talked about what it might take to help turn around that community. And very quickly, Gary and Dave's bank committed $1 million to make $25,000 gifts to those in need to help them renovate their newly purchased homes. In 2016, Dave and Gary and their bank were founding members of the Detroit Home Mortgage Program. What I can tell you about that is this program was launched to increase home ownership where there was a gap between appraisals and the market value of a home. As you all know, it was very hard for those homeowners to be able to improve in their businesses, their homes. And to date, over 35 homes have been renovated through their contributions. In 2017, Gary and David started a program called the SWAG Scholarship Award. And for anybody who has parents of teenagers and young adults, anything with the word swag in it's pretty cool. But the reality is it starts for Students Wired for Achievement and Greatness. And it's a scholarship program that has been set up on the basis of leadership and community involvement and not just GPA. And it's to be given to minority students in Detroit to make sure they have a chance to go to college or trade schools. And it's a fantastic program that I heard a lot about as we were doing our due diligence to determine the winners for this award. In 2018, Gary and David created quite a stir when they decided to move their bank into downtown Detroit. It was going to bring 500 new jobs to the downtown area. At the time, they were running the largest bank in Michigan, headquartered in Michigan. And recently, they created an even larger stir when they announced a $3.8 billion merger to create a Midwestern powerhouse and are now going to locate the 24th largest bank in America in Detroit. In 2018, Gary and Dave agreed to chair a $35 million strategic neighborhood fund initiative, which their bank was the founding member of, and they worked in a public-private partnership to find 7 Detroit neighborhoods that the private sector was going to work towards improving. And I think the granddaddy of them all, even though the headquarters move was pretty big, was in 2019, they made a 22-year commitment to lead a $33 million improvement to the Detroit Regional Convention Facility Authority for the Convention Center of Detroit to make Detroit more of a destination for the private sector for their conventions. I think what you've learned is public-private partnership is what all Gary and Dave and their bank are all about. And it was pretty clear to us that we didn't really have to travel the world at this moment to find the recipients. It was Gary and Dave. I'll leave with one last story before we bring them up here to give them their award. But when they started their first company, the name of the company was Talmer. Now, I must say, while I'm not an English major, I didn't know what Talmer meant. And so we asked them what that meant, and that was a combination of their 2 dads' names. And if you want to talk about 2 people who never forgot where they came from and are willing to dedicate themselves to the community, it's Dave and it's Gary and it's their company. We're delighted to give them this year's Corporate Social Responsibility Award.